It is the first day of December as we film this. So before we get into today's Browns report, do you have your Christmas lights up? Type U for up or D for down in the comment section while this intro video rolls. The Browns get a very much needed week off as they finally get to their bye, which means I've got 3 changes I think the Browns should make during the week off. Welcome into the Cleveland Browns Report. I'm your host, Matthew Peterson. And on today's show, I'm going to throw 3 changes-ish, suggestions, recommendations Kevin Stefanski, I think, should hear from me going into the bye week, as the players have the week off, but the coaches, they are busy working, trying to fix and save this season. So the first bye week change I got up. Cleveland needs to find an offensive identity. And It was running the football. Running the football still is a big core and the meat and potatoes of this offensive identity. But I think what the Browns saw in the Ravens game is that defenses are not afraid of Baker. They're going to stack the box. They're going to put 8, 9, at one point even 10 guys right up on the offensive line and force Baker to beat them through the air, which he was unable to do. And if other teams, when other teams catch wind of this for the next handful of games, it's not going to be any easier on the run game. I'll show you the running game stats from Week 12's loss in a moment. Not pretty. But here's what Kevin Stefanski had to say in his press conference following the loss on how this offense can kind of get back into a stride and out of a rut. When we spent some time looking at it and pulling it apart, the first thing we were going to say is, all right, what are we good at? Can we do that more? How can we add nuance to it? How can we add wrinkles to it? A little concerning that we're in double-digit weeks now and we're trying to figure out what we're good at, in my opinion. But it is rushing the football. But it wasn't last week. Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb combined for 15 carries, went off for a grand total of 36 yards and no touchdowns. So running the football is absolutely a strength of this team and the biggest strength. But if teams are going to hone in more on challenging Baker to beat them through the air, and if they're unable to do it, then it's going to be tough. So this Browns team, they need to find their offensive identity in this bye week. They got to know what they're good at. That's what Stefanski's saying. I don't think they really know exactly we are 100% good at this. I think they have a lot of strengths in the run game, but some weaknesses were exposed in that Ravens game. In the NFL, if you rely on doing what you did last week, newsflash, you'll be out of a job very quickly. So they got to find a way to open up the passing game a little more. And here's where the NFL touchdown leaderboard stands right now. And this is not good company to be in. One, you don't want to be 24th in touchdowns. Baker right there in the middle. I want to show you guys who's ahead and who's behind of him. He's at 11 touchdowns. Now, granted, he missed a game and he's been playing through some injuries, but also so has just about every other quarterback on this list. Jalen Hurts is the only one healthy, and he even got nicked up last week. But Russell Wilson, who has missed more games and has played the worst season so far of his career, is still outing Baker Mayfield. Do you really want to be 1 touchdown ahead of Jared Goff and Daniel Jones? It's just not what you want out of your first overall pick. Don't take this as me punting on Baker as the future in Cleveland. I think a lot's going to be said about that over the course of the remaining 5 games of the season, but not good company you want to be in. So it's on Stefanski right now to game plan better. And Stefanski has been an adult about this, meaning he has taken ownership. And there are a lot of other coaches in the NFL who don't take great ownership. But Stefanski has said, yep, this is my fault. This is on me. I've liked what he said in his post-game press conferences of anything that happens on the field is ultimately my responsibility, from offense to defense to special teams. But at a certain point, apologies get old. And we're in December. There's no room for apologies at this point. The changes had to be made earlier this year. It's unfortunate the bye comes so late for Cleveland, because last year it came right in the middle of the season, and you can tell that there was a turning point because of it. Is it too late? We're going to find out. But the Browns' offense the last couple of weeks has been awful, and that's why he has to game plan better. Stefanski, 10 points per game, 276 yards. And you can really, the only outlier in the last 7-8 weeks is the Bengals game. Outside of that, there's been a lot of poor performances for the Browns on offense. Even the home game against the Broncos. Sure, Case Keenum was in at quarterback, but besides the early goings, the first 3-4 weeks of the season, this Browns offense, and just in terms of scoring, a touchdown with a side of a field goal, That is not a good combination for a winning formula. So is Stefanski to blame for the late struggles? This is the pinned comment on this video. If you get hit with the YouTube ad break, scroll on down, reply to that pinned comment, super simple, with a Y for yes or N for no, and then join us when the ad break is over. Let me know where you stand on this situation. Next change I want to see made during the bye week. It is time for the coaching staff to binge watch Back to the Future. When they're not watching film, watch this, because you know what the Browns need to do? They need to go back in time. They got to figure out how they were able to not salvage last season, not by any stretch of imagination, but the changes they made last year when they hit a rut and to what prompted them to a phenomenal ending of the season. So the Browns, like I said, were kind of at this point last season in a way. It had a different feel, because the Browns last season had some great wins, and they just haven't had that, everyone looking at you kind of win. Maybe the Bengals, but, they went to Tennessee, and they jumped all over the Titans. They went like 35-3 or 35-0 right off the bat. They had the shootout in Dallas where they knocked off a Dak Prescott-led Cowboys team, keep in mind. Should have beaten the Ravens. Altogether, this Browns team last season just had a lot more positive energy and a lot more optimism. And even if the records are similar to this point, the Browns, at this point last season were above 500, not 500 on the dot. They got to find a way to get back into that win column. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But first, do you hate the Ravens? I think you're in good company if you do, right here at the Cleveland Browns Report. So subscribe right now if you loathe, despise, can't stand, figure out whatever word it is, and then hit that big red button, and maybe comment the way you feel about the Crows, the Steelers, the Bengals, whatever it is. I know that Browns fans are in good company here at the Browns Report for hating on the team from Baltimore. So like I was saying, going back to what I was talking about, last season for the Browns, that bye week was huge, okay? Baker Mayfield really turned it around, and so that needs to happen this year. It's a little later than you'd like, but look at what the Browns did before the bye last season compared to after the bye. There's some similarities, not a ton changing that points total, but you can pick up an extra win, and most importantly, look at the jump in the passing yards per game. About 50 more yards every single game from Baker. Baker was healthy last year, or healthier at least. They say he's 100% healthy, or as close as he's going to get right now, but a jump has to be made for Baker Mayfield, and that's why Week 14 is my final straw. I have said before on the show, continue to start Baker Mayfield if he is healthy, which the Browns say he is, and if he says he is, so be it, but at least you learn more about what the future is like with Baker compared to Case Keenum, who's not going to be on this team most likely next year. Contract's up, so you're not going to gain much knowledge about Baker and what you want to do with him going forward if Case Keenum's on the field. Is Case Keenum a better quarterback, healthy, compared to this banged-up Baker? Maybe, probably, but this isn't about 1 or 2 games. This is about the future quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. That's not Case Keenum. Figure out if it is Baker Mayfield. But if Baker just flat out sucks again in Week 14, and sucks is a strong word because he had some good moments against the Ravens, but at the end of the day, no complimentary football. The defense gave you 4 turnovers, and you cash that in for 3 points. That's a bad day at Chuck E. Cheese if you walk away with just 3 tickets off a bunch of wins. So it is my final straw for Baker Mayfield. Coming off the bye, getting healthy, a full week off to do whatever you got to do to get back into a winning mojo. If the Browns and Baker is a clunker against the Ravens at home in Week 14, I'm pulling the plug. I'm going with Case Keenum. But do you believe the Browns still have a shot at the playoffs? Type ME or me down below if you do. They're only 6-6. We're talking about a team in a tone that makes it sound like they're 3-6 or even worse. What's the math there? Yeah, 3-6. 3-9. 3-9. Math's hard. I talk for a living, not do math for a living. But I do think that they have one more loss to spare, which is a very tight thing to do, and we'll look at the schedule later on. So maybe they can find a way to eke into the playoffs. We'll figure it out after the bye week is over. My final change, though, for the bye week. Ice baths all around. Everyone's getting healthy because this Browns team has been very banged up this season, but at a certain point, the injury excuse only gets you so far in life and in the NFL because, listen, everyone's dealing with injuries, okay? Sure, the Browns may have it worse than others, but the NFL doesn't hand out wins for which team has the most players on IR. We'll look at the Browns' health status and injury report in just a second, but we got a great deal going on with our friends at Fanatics. Check out this awesome Browns winter hat. It's getting cold up in Cleveland. Put a hat on that head right now and get it 50% off when you use chatsports.com/BrownsBeanie. I've got the link for that in the comments and the description of this video. It's 50% off from Fanatics. Get it before Christmas. Get it for a loved one. Get it for yourself. Treat yourself, whatever it may be. Check it out. Awesome, sweet deal going on at Fanatics. 50% off when you use that link at the bottom of your screen for this dope Browns winter hat, Browns beanie, whatever it is. Banged up Brownies. That's been the story this season. So here are your 5 biggest players on both sides of the ball that have dealt with major injuries. Baker Mayfield dealing with a body injury because everything's hurt for Baker, from literally head, shoulder to toe. Kareem Hunt, he missed 5 weeks with a calf injury. Looks like he's back to getting 100% close to healthy. Landry missed 4 weeks at one point. DPJ's missed 3. And JOK, who, by the way, quietly had the best game of his career, potentially. So far in the Ravens lost 12 tackles, a career high for him. He's missed 3 weeks. So the banged-up Browns has been a tough story all season long, but they are hopefully going to get healthy after this bye week with a couple extra ice baths and not going on the field on Sunday and getting more bruised up, because the Browns' schedule coming up is not easy. There are a lot of tough tests. In fact, there's not a single easy gimme game. You got the Ravens, maybe the Raiders at home, but the Raiders are not – I don't think the Raiders are good, but – I didn't think the Raiders would beat the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. So the Raiders are just a frisky team you don't want to play, I think, maybe. They play that game on Saturday, by the way. Then you get the Packers at Lambeau on Christmas Day. Hopefully, Aaron Rodgers wakes up with cold that morning and doesn't put on a great performance. And then the Steelers on Monday Night Football on the road. And you end the season at home against the Bengals, who you destroyed at Paul Brown Stadium. But the Bengals, I think, are playing some of their best football the last couple of weeks, and that's not going to be an easy task, but that's a weeks away, over a month away, so we don't have to worry about that right now. Here's my biggest fear, though. The Browns are closing in on what the Bears and the Jags did. Remember the Bears 2018 Cody Parkey double doink season, and then fell out after that. Remember the Jags were a fourth quarter away from going to the Super Bowl back in 2017? The Patriots came back and beat them and really just ruined the Jags for the next, well, probably decades to come, because it's the Jags. But still, I just don't want this Browns defense, which isn't like one of the greatest Browns defenses of all time, but they did hold the Ravens to 16 points and force 4 turnovers on Lamar Jackson. That kind of defense to go to waste. So I'm afraid that they're closing in on those territories. The Bears and Jags had great defenses, but ultimately defenses cannot be counted on year in and year out, and they have a short lifespan. Players get old. Players have a great season on defense once or twice, but it's hard to stay consistent. You only have so many Myles Garretts on a team, and unless you're Myles Garrett, you can't count on everyone else to be top-notch for 5, 6, 7 straight years like you can, I think, for like a quarterback or a wide receiver or the offensive line, even a tight end. All right, before we wrap up this video, shout out your favorite Browns player of all time. Let me know who it is down in the comments section. Any Josh Cribbs lovers out there? You can go even a low-key route with him or someone else like Matthews. Let me know. Bernie Kosar. We have him on Bernie Heads here on the Browns Report. Whoever it may be, shout out in the comment section who your favorite Cleveland Browns player is of all time.